All right, we're going to do a Butch Caddis. The Butch Caddis is relatively new. I've had this pattern for about 4 years. This pattern was designed to fish faster water. Fish is really good on soft water. It's designed, the fly was designed to sink and pop back up. So you're in turbulent water and you want to rip it, or you got dancing flies, dancing egg layers, and you got flies that are coming in and out of the surface. They're diving down and they're popping back up to drop eggs. And this fly was designed basically to do that, to give the basic silhouette of the fly, but have an incredible flotation. It's not really that caddisy looking when you first look at it, but it fishes like a champ, especially in that fast water. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie in, again, I've got an 1180 Daiichi number 14. I don't tie this fly very often in 14s. I'm doing it so we can see it a little easier. 16 and 18s mostly, olive and tan. Seems to cover pretty much everything. Great Mother's Day caddis also. And I'm going to take a piece of Antron, just a amber colored Antron. I've started my thread about 2/3 of the way up the hook, maybe 3/4. And I've started, come back up here. I'm going to tie this Antron in and work it back. If you want to start it at the back and cut it off really short, you can do that too. If you're worried about flotation, you won't have any problem floating this fly though. I'm going to take this, I'm going to cut this trailing shuck really short. I use this really more, it's just behind the hook. I'm just a little bit past the bend of the hook. I'm going to cut that off. Don't stretch it when you cut it too much. If you're using crinkly Zelon, it'll bounce back and be shorter than what you wanted. So pull it tight and then relax it to see if it's the same length. Cut it off and you've got what you want. That is not really a trailing shuck to me. I also tie this with fluorescent green because I think it looks like an egg sac back there as much as anything. I'm going to tie it in olive so we can see it a little better. Whenever you're using this dubbing, again, there's a simple trick. If you've got too much, if you let it go, each thread, each strand of this dubbing is intended to wrap around the thread. So if you've got too much and you let it go, it sinks. If you've picked it out nice and light, this is for any dry fly dubbing, if you let it go and it floats and it's just sitting there, see it right there? That's telling you've got enough dubbing. That way, when it's real light and airy like that, when you wrap it around your thread, each single filament of this dubbing wraps around the thread, and you never get that dog leg when you're wrapping your thread up and all of a sudden you've got material sticking out the side of your hook. So when you've got this dubbing on here right, it should be nice and tight, nothing hanging off to the edge there. You build your taper, get it thin at the back. Make sure you cover up the whole. They've got a really skinny body. A lot of caddis have commercially tied caddis. You see they're way too thick. So I'm going to wrap this forward. Again, this is a pretty big one. I'm going to come forward past the body, maybe 2 or 3 turns, and catch this Antron. You see I've left it out here. And I'm going to fold this back over. Keep it right on top. Good. Now we're going to cut it just about the length of the tail. I want it to end just shy of the end of the tail, so pull it, relax it, cut it. Take a little bit of dubbing here and just real light. Just cover your thread up. We're going to put something else on here anyway, but I like to just cover that little bit of thread up before I start. There's a little, when you fold over your Antron's solid so it doesn't compress. And so I just covered up, and it's going to help with the next thing we're going to do here. Now I'm going to take a piece of short fine deer hair. I like whitetail. You're looking for, ideally you get late October so it's nice and short. Ideally you have the hair maybe 1 inch long here, and you want this very distinct black line or dark line right here. And you want as much as you can get from here down, not so much on the tip because that's solid hair. So then we're going to cut this off. Solid hair is very hard to compress, so it makes it hard to flare a wing out. Now I'm going to take this hair. You should clean anytime you use deer hair. I don't care what you're doing with it, you should clean it. You take it by the tips and you spin it in your fingertips like that. All right, makes it nice and open. And then we're going to put it in the comb. If you're using a comb in your hand, that's fine. If you're just picking it out, that's fine. But you have to see that you're getting rid of all this fuzz. There's fur, directional hair, and guard hair. The guard hair is the tipped hair, the black lines on it. The directional hair is this junk down in here that doesn't have a black line. And then the fur is this, what looks to be dubbing in here. You can't over clean hair. It's impossible. As long as you still have some left here, you can just keep cleaning it and cleaning it. The cleaner it is, the idea behind that is that if you clean it, you want the thread to go around the hair and get as close to the shank of the hook as possible. If it's a bunch of fur in there and it leaves this bulky head, it's never going to cinch down tight around the hook. So now, and this is what really makes this fly different. On an elk hair caddis, you would tie in the tip hair like this. And I just told you that the reason we're looking for this dark hair is that the hair from the dark line from right here that way is solid. It's not hollow. Hollow hair floats. That's why it traps air. And elk hair caddis relies on the tip hair to float the fly. Well, it's not ideal because it's not hollow. So what we're going to do is we're going to use both of them. I'm going to tie this in. I've got the thread advanced right to the eye of the hook. Now I'm going to put these tip hairs like this, and I'm going to make them the same length as that Antron wing I've got. So roll that over and get it the same length, and we're right at the eye of the hook. By the way, if you notice I spin my thread, when you spin your thread one way or the other, if you want your thread, when you pick it up and you reduce the tension on it, if you spin it to the right, it's going to go to the right when you do that, when you loosen up your thread. And if you spin it the other way, it'll go to the other direction. It just gives you a little bit of thread control. So now I'm going to go over this. I'm going to hold the hair tight around the hook. I don't want it to spin around the hook. I want it to stay right on top. I've got my thumb and my forefinger there. Put 1, 2 wraps, and then I pull right straight at myself. Okay, so I'm flaring it and I'm keeping all that hair on top of the hook. Put a third one, and I'm going to go back 1, 2 turns right on top. Now I got this short little wing here. Everything's on top, and then I'm going to fold this bubble head over. Okay, keeping everything on top as much as I can. If you get a bunch of hair down on the sides, just loosen your thread and pick it up. Now I got this little tiny bulbous head. So now I've just built 3 things into this fly that makes it float better than a standard fly. 1, I've got the tip hair. 2, I folded the hair over. I got this little bubble head or bullet head. And 3, when I give this thing its butch haircut, it's going to have all the thickest hair, the hollow hair is going to help float it. So what you do is you just take the hair back and cut it at an angle away from the head of the hook. Come in here and just cut it right at the end of the tail like that. And then I push it down like this, and I just give it a butch. Butch is a haircut that they used to give little kids when we were, well, back before the Stone Age when I was born. They weren't even cool then. I think it was some sort of torture. But now I cut it flat down the sides. If you look at the wing, it should go right down the side of the body. So, and again, you cut it as short as you want on the sides. I cut it pretty flat, and I keep it pretty flat in the back. And also, this is also a really good spruce moth if you do it right. Lighten up the colors. Originally, I did not put rubber legs on this fly. Part of it was marketable, it's more marketable with a pair of rubber legs on it, and part of it was it just looks cool. But the original ones I didn't put rubber legs on. I'm going to put them on this one because we kind of started doing it, and I definitely don't see it hurting the fly. Rather, it helps it. I don't know. If you want to skip it, go ahead. So I've got 2 turns of thread. Reach up, grab the back side first, cut stretch them, pull them off to the side, set your wings, then just hold it. Hold both. I always reach underneath it like that, and a little bit too much hold there. Pull them off. Usually when I do them, if I do them wrong, I'm almost always too far that way. And when you tighten your thread, it has a tendency to pull the back leg. It won't do anything to this side. It'll pull that one. So just make double sure that this side's nice and flat, so it's laying flat on the water. Then pick them both up and go right in front of this, and just put your whip finish right there. Now, trim the legs, front legs shorter. I don't leave these real long. You know, just, they don't have really long legs, caddis don't. This is great just a tractor too. I said I tied this one in a 14 more so we could see it. Generally when I tie this it's 16 and 18. On the 18s I never put the rubber legs on my own. The ones I sell all have them. But then go underneath, flip your fly over, and just make sure there's not just the ardent hair hanging down here or there. I mean, you should have a real clean silhouette when you flip it over. I'll show this so the camera can see it. But you should be able to see, when you look down, you should see the wing silhouette, but more importantly, you should see that body is really slender. You got a nice, clean body break. The head's right there. It's nice and bulbous. This fly is virtually impossible to sink. I mean, if there is such a thing in the dry fly world, this is really close. No foam, all hair, all natural. But because of the way this hair is trapping air, that little bubble head, it's almost impossible. It's a great fast water caddis, which in the West you've got a lot of fast water. And really anywhere you fish caddis, you'll find that you fish a lot of caddis in real turbulent water. Great diver as well. That's the Butch Caddis.